Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to my review for the S.H.Figuarts release of Don Momotaro from Avataro Sentai DonBrothers. This is our second retail release since Sentai Figuarts have made a comeback. I know they've done a couple other exclusives, but unless I'm forgetting something, this is our second regularly, more slightly reasonably priced available retail release for it. So let's go ahead and get started with the accessories. As you can see on him, he has two weapons. Those are the two primary weapons he does have. You got his sword here, and then you got the gun, which I'll show off in a second. And as usual, in Figuarts fashion, they're usually pretty well detailed. Honestly, they have like even the tiniest little detail to it. This part here looks a little bit cheap and stickery, but that's kind of the way the sword looks, to be honest. The other side is a little bit basic. I'm not sure if that's exactly the way it looks in the show. Like, is it that basic on the other side? I never pay too much attention, but nothing that it's a deal breaker there. And then you got the gun here, which is also very nicely detailed. Again, a little bit less painted on this side. Also worth noting, on the inside flap here, you do have a signature fan that you can cut out and put in his hand. I'm personally not going to do it, but it is available. I think that's kind of neat that they include that in this way, but at the same time, I just kind of wish they just had it in there and you didn't have to cut apart your box. There's a chance you could mess it up and it might be hard to fit in his hand. Again, I appreciate it, but I wish it was just either regularly in there as cardboard or just as a regular accessory. As far as other accessories, you have your par for the course variety of hands. He actually has a really nice variety of them. On him right now, I have the hands for holding both the blaster and the weapon, or the sword, excuse me. And the weapon one, or the sword one, is kind of just more of a regular holding one. And then the sword one, or the gun one, actually has a trigger finger. You have some pointing fingers, you have some splayed open fists, you have some just kind of general open hands, you have your classic Figuarts closed fists, so you actually have a really nice variety of possibilities for either posing it without a weapon or with either weapon. Just to talk about the figure itself, you have your par for the course articulation here. You have a really nice articulated figure if you're not experienced with Figuarts. Nice ball joint here, swiveling joint here, you got a double D joint, a double knee joint right there, you have a nice ball joint at the foot, you have a little hinge joint here at the foot. This one's a little bit loose. Like, I don't have too many loose joint problems with this for the most part. This one is just slightly looser than usual, but nothing where it's like flapping around. And my waist joint here is a little bit looser. Like, when I pulled out the plastic, I didn't even pull that hard and it came apart. It was like almost separated when I got it in the package, but nothing that's like a deal breaker about it. You do have the ball joint here at the waist and then the chest as well. You have a nice ball joint at the arm here, swiveling joint here, double elbow joint, swiveling at the fist here, and you have your nice head and neck articulation. So if you're not familiar with Figuarts, they're very well articulated, and it's overall a solid mold. Again, outside of those two little notes I made, I don't really have too many loose joint problems. It doesn't feel like the tightest figure, but it's nothing that's deal breaking or anything like that. And I've mentioned in the past that Figuarts do feel, in general, a little bit lighter, a little bit cheaper than they used to in the past, but I'll just say that overall, you know, for modern day Figuarts and pricing and all that stuff, this overall does feel solid. I still feel that Figuarts have gotten a little bit overpriced for what they are. Like, don't get me wrong, you're still getting a damn good looking figure, but I still think they're overpriced. But I'll just say that as far as feel goes, I'm happy with this as a compromise. I think it just feels solid. Nothing where I'm like, oh, this feels really cheap for the price, but nothing where I'm like, oh my god, this feels premium. It just feels solid. And detail-wise, I think it looks great. I think they did a really good job on the head sculpt. The helmet shines really nicely, both in the red and in the visor. You have a nice, shiny, almost a plastic, like I guess you do, but nice, shiny paint here that differentiates. I think that overall the proportions are solid. I think they're pretty dang close to accurate. I mean, I can't really see anything that's hugely inaccurate about the proportions of his head to his body and all that stuff. The armor also has a nice shine to it, and then you have kind of more of a matte finish on the legs. I think the texture overall flows really well together. It doesn't interfere with each other, and again, the proportions are very well done. It feels very accurate to the show. It doesn't feel too skinny like some of the older Figuarts did, and overall I'm just really pleased with it. I'm really become quite the fan of the DonBrothers designs, if I'm being honest, and I especially really do quite like reds, and so I'm really happy to have such a nice looking figure of it. Like, despite my complaints about Figuarts being a little bit overpriced, it really is just a good looking figure. I just want to do a couple little comparisons here real quick, just for the sake of it. I mean, obviously you have really one of your only other alternatives for a Don Momotaro figure, which is the standard basic figure right here from the Change Heroes line. Now, obviously, you have stuff like some of the candy toy figures, and then you have the vinyl figures as well. But in regards to like sort of more of a comparable, available, articulated figure, this is the closest comparison. And obviously, it's like night and day. You know, this is definitely an upgrade. Obviously, a very significant price difference, you know, like what, 5 to 6 to more times the price if you're including shipping. But if you're looking for the absolute best Don Momotaro figure, this is certainly the upgrade. Here he is next to Zenkaiser, the other main release so far, and they look really nice next to each other. Again, I have my problems with the pricing, but I just have to say that I think the new wave of Sentai Figuarts definitely look good. Like, just looking at them here through the camera or outside the camera, they just are dang good looking figures, and they feel really well proportioned, really well detailed, and again, it makes me glad Sentai Figuarts are back. I just wish they weren't so expensive because, I mean, obviously it'd be nice to pay less, but also as we start to delve into getting more teams, possibly, eventually, it's going to be quite pricey to complete a team. I don't see us getting near that anytime soon. I think we're going to kind of stick to main 6th and event characters for a little while. It makes me think about the fact that I stopped collecting Figuarts for stuff like Marvel and DC because I'd rather just get the $20, $25 Hasbro figure, which doesn't look as good, but it's close enough for like a quarter of the price. But in this case, you don't really have any other options. And in these cases, you know, we probably won't see these in Power Rangers anytime soon, if ever. So it's not like I can be like, oh, I'm going to wait for the Lightning figure. Like if they come out with a, you know, $70 to $80 Tyranno Ranger figure tomorrow, you could probably say, you know what, I'm going to stick with the Lightning figure. But with these, there's not really going to be a Lightning figure substitute it. I mean, maybe in the future, but not anytime in the near future. And real quick here, just for another comparison, I know that this doesn't look anything like each other. No, but this is just comparing the old style Sentai Figuarts molds, and you can just see the absolute improvement. I mean, obviously this guy's a little bit taller. It's really funny. I mean, these aren't terrible figures. Some of the older Sentai Figuarts do hold up, and they still have a lot of nice qualities, but it kind of reminds me of when they started doing the renewal Rider figures, where it's like, you used to love these Figuarts, and then you're like, how could I ever think this was accurate after the new ones here? I mean, I've been saying for a long time, I don't think Sentai Figuarts hold up in a lot of ways. I know that the, Sentai suits in Sentai are skinnier, but not this skinny sometimes. And especially on certain characters like Deca Blue, it just doesn't fit. For Marvelous here, it's not too bad. I think it's more so the helmet that's too skinny, but you can just see so much more of an accurate proportion, and it makes me glad that Sentai Figuarts returned with a huge improvement. That's about it for this one, guys. Overall, I'm really pleased with this figure. It's definitely going to be a little bit pricey. Figuarts prices have gone up, especially for the more renewal versions and stuff like that. But if you are really passionate about wanting this figure for this character, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I can definitely recommend it. As always, I give this advice for anything, whether I'm recommending it because I love it or whether I'm not recommending it, but try to find a good price. You know, I would try to maybe pay a little bit less if you can, maybe find it on Mandarake or some sort of eBay deal would be really nice. I just recommend it to you just because I still feel that overall Figuarts aren't worth the price they're being charged for, but I have to say this is a damn solid figure and I'm happy I own it, and I think if you're like me and you just really wanted the figure of the suit and a Figuart, you'll be happy. But that's about it for this one, guys. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.